Hello and welcome to The Exchange, a resource for 1031 market intelligence and education. My name is Tom Wall, I'm partner here at Anchor 1031, and this is the final episode in our four-part series discussing the structure of a DST. In our previous videos, we talked all about the restrictions that DSTs face, and luckily sponsors have a few emergency measures they can use if a DST property is threatened. So in this episode, we're going to talk through the primary method for saving an at-risk DST property using a specific mechanism called the Springing LLC. When investors review a DST's private placement memorandum, or PPM for short, they'll usually come across the term Springing LLC. This is a mechanism designed to protect your investment in the worst case scenario, if a DST has to break one of the 7 deadly sins. The Springing LLC is kind of like a break glass in case of emergency feature of DSTs. It's in place in case a property is struggling to the point where the sponsor has to commit one of the 7 deadly sins in order to save the asset. If you're not familiar with the 7 deadly sins in a DST, go visit our second video in this series where we cover it in more detail. The term Springing LLC refers to a limited liability company that gets established as a contingency plan within the DST structure. It's called springing because it remains dormant unless a specific event triggers it into action. The event that triggers this Springing LLC causes this LLC to spring, usually related to a significant problem or a failure within the DST, like the insolvency of the trust or a major operational issue. The Springing LLC acts as a safety net for investors during a worst case scenario. The world is unpredictable, and no matter how conservative your underwriting, there's always going to be unexpected risks in real estate. DSTs, like any other property, can encounter serious difficulties and could need an injection of capital or a refinance in order to remain solvent and a profitable investment. Sponsors can convert the DST into an LLC and make the necessary moves in order to attempt to save a property. So, what happens to DST investors if a sponsor needs to spring that DST into an LLC? In theory, it sounds very simple, but springing to an LLC can have legal and financial implications, which is why it's very important for investors to consult with legal and financial advisors to understand any potential impacts on their investment, make sure they're prepared for worst case scenarios. The primary concern about this mechanism is whether the tax status of a 1031 is affected when a DST converts from that DST structure, which is 1031 eligible, to an LLC, which is typically not 1031 exchange eligible. This is an exceedingly rare occurrence, so there's not clear-cut guidance from the IRS. It seems to be a gray area. We've seen DSTs spring to an LLC, they restructure, recapitalize, sign the refi docs, and eventually they convert back to DST while preserving the 1031 exit for investors. So when that property sells down the road, investors look like they bought a DST and sold a DST, and they can 1031 without having had any issues. But because we don't have clear-cut guidance from the IRS, there are still the risk that investors could be disallowed from doing another 1031 exchange if, for whatever reason, the IRS looked into what happened during the ownership, saw that there was a change from DST to LLC back to DST, and that's where it's considered a gray area, and it's important to talk to your legal counsel and tax advisors and make sure that you're prepared if you do find yourself in that situation. At the end of the day, the Springing LLC is a critical component of the DST structure. It gives investors confidence that their investment can still be protected even if the DST faces worst case scenarios. Well, that wraps up our series on the structure of a DST. I really hope you found this valuable. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Tom Wall, partner here at Anchor 1031. Thank you so much for checking out Exchange Insights, your resource for 1031 intelligence and education. Check out our website, anchor1031.com, for a consultation if you want to set up a call with myself or anyone from our team. Remember, this information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Always consult with your CPA, your tax advisor, legal counsel before making any investment decisions. Thank you. Talk to you soon.